How's it going, film nerds? My name is Ryan Walsh. Looking at the brand new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, I'm probably like a lot of you guys, when Mysterio showed up on screen, I instantly lost my mind because that's one character that I've always wanted to see come into the movies. Because who would have ever thought we were going to see Mysterio as the main villain in a Spider-Man movie? I personally never thought it was going to happen, so as a longtime Spidey fan, I was pretty happy with that. But then it was really weird in the trailer because Mysterio wasn't fighting Spider-Man. Instead, he started fighting Hydro Man. And that threw me for a loop because he is supposed to be a villain in this movie. He's not supposed to be the good guy. So why isn't he fighting Spider-Man? Why is he fighting Hydro Man instead? That just doesn't make any sense at all. So I thought to myself, let's break this down and find out exactly if Mysterio is a hero or villain in the brand new Spider-Man Far From Home movie. Now, just like any other video I always do a lot of digging and research on the character himself within the comic books and anything that we have for the Spider-Man Far From Home movie. And this brought me to Collider.com because they got to see some early footage of Spider-Man Far From Home back in December, way before anybody got to see the trailer for this movie. And within that article, they went on to say that Spider-Man and Mysterio are going to be teaming up to fight the Elementals, and Mysterio is going to be recruited by Nick Fury. And Nick Fury obviously was in the trailer, so that makes a lot of sense right there. And it looks like so far that Mysterio is going to be a hero in this movie and not really that much of a villain. And it looks like Marvel is really revamping Mysterio and taking a different turn with the character in this movie. And in the past, Marvel has done this, but it's usually with lesser known characters. And in my opinion, I don't think Mysterio is really that lesser known villain because Mysterio is one of the top Spider-Man villains, and Spider-Man basically has one of the biggest villain rogue galleries in all of Marvel, so I just don't look at Mysterio as a lesser known character. And really not finding any evidence from this article, I instead went to the comic books and looking at the only time that I could find Spider-Man and Mysterio teaming up in the comic books was issue 686 of The Amazing Spider-Man. However, the only reason Mysterio teamed up with Spider-Man to fight off Dr. Octopus in this comic book wasn't because he was a hero, it was because Mysterio was getting something for his own benefit. That's why he teamed up with them. So it's not safe to say that the comic books have any evidence of showing that Mysterio was a good guy at any point in time. Now, tying all of this evidence back into the film, it doesn't make any sense for Mysterio to be a hero at all in this movie. And judging by the last twist that we got in Spider-Man Homecoming, I'm probably thinking the exact same thing you are, where Mysterio isn't going to be a good guy, except he'll probably act like it for the first half of the movie, and then he turns out to be the bad guy. But what about the Elementals in the movie as well? Why are they going to be a main villain in the movie when Mysterio is already in this movie? Are they going to be illusion? Are they just going to be some side villains that are easily defeated? What is going on with these villains? And of course, I did some research on the Elementals as well, and this isn't even the original team of the Elementals. This is a completely different one, and looking back in the comic books, that original team never even fought Spider-Man from what I could find. However, like I said before, Marvel has been known in the past to change up some lesser known characters, and that's exactly what I think is happening to the Elementals, not Mysterio. So when looking at the Elemental team, it's pretty obvious that Marvel is trying to introduce more Spider-Man villains with this team, such as Sandman, Molten Man, and Hydro Man. All three of these characters fit into the Elementals group, and the main reason is because they all control an element. Where Sandman controls Earth, you have Molten Man controlling fire, and then Hydro Man controlling water. And all of these villains of Spider-Man have been around since the early 60s and 70s for the comic books, and it just adds on even more evidence to why these characters are going to be in the movie. But you know what's really funny too? When you look at the original Elemental team from the comic books, there were 4 villains that made up that team, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, just look at Avatar: The Last Airbender. The Avatar is the master of all 4 elements. So obviously within this trailer, I think they did a little bit of hiding of the 4th villain, and that's not Mysterio. I think there's a 4th unknown villain that they aren't showing within the trailer. And I think there's only one scene in particular in the trailer that shows there's going to be one more villain, and that's this scene right here where there's a little bit of storm clouds, but also looking right here, you can see that there's a bolt of lightning. And there's only one other Spider-Man villain that I think could fit the shoes of this 4th elemental, and that is Electro. Because you know what, Sony? You owe us from the last time you put Electro on the big screen in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Talk about one of the worst jobs anybody could do to a Spider-Man villain. This is where you pay us back, and this is where you put Electro in the Spider-Man Far From Home movie to redeem yourself. It's just so painful to go back and relive all of those Electro moments in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
What are you doing? You made me a cake?
And I know a lot of you are probably thinking that the last element should be air and there should be an air villain, but Spider-Man doesn't really have a villain that fits that sort of power. The only one closest to that is Electro. So that's why I think Electro makes the most sense for this. Now, of course, there are plenty of fans that have come out and said either the elementals are just gonna be Mysterio's illusions, or they're not even going to be any classic Spider-Man villains. They will be that original Elementals team from the comic books. But these are both easily disproven because Peter in the trailer gets hit by Hydro Man's wave. If this was a real illusion, this wave wouldn't have hit Peter at all. It would have gone right through him, proving that this is a real wave. And also, looking in that same part of the trailer, behind Ned Leeds, there's a boat. And on the boat, a lot of fans caught this Easter egg where it says ASM 212, which means Amazing Spider-Man, and the issue is going to be 212. And wouldn't you know, the first appearance of Hydro Man was in that issue, disproving both of these claims. But now that we know that these are most likely going to be the elementals in the movie, what the heck does Mysterio even have to do with this movie? It seems like with the elementals, they don't even need Mysterio in this movie. What part is he going to play? Is it even going to be a villain, or is he just going to be some character that shows up for 2 seconds and helps out Spider-Man? Well, this brings us all the way back to Mysterio's first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man number 13 in 1964. And in the storyline, they showcase that Mysterio's alter ego is Quentin Beck. And in the comic books, Quentin Beck was a stuntman and a gifted special effects man for TV movies. So this showed that he had a lot of skills in order to be able to create his own suit and a lot of the illusions that he used in the comic books. But in the storyline, he felt like he always was an overlooked person and he wanted some fame, so he thought to himself, I'm gonna impersonate Spider-Man, paint him to be the bad guy, create this Mysterio character, have him defeat Spider-Man, and this way Mysterio will become a world-famous superhero. Also, it's worth mentioning that J. Jonah Jameson was in this storyline as well, and he was hyping up Mysterio while trying to take down Spider-Man because he's always against Spider-Man. And this is the exact same storyline I think they're going to use in Spider-Man Far From Home in order to tie in Quentin Beck or Mysterio. Here, let me explain exactly how this is going to happen. Take Quentin Beck that's going to be in this movie. I think instead of him being someone that's gifted with stunts or visual effects in movies, he'll be more of a scientist or engineer that works for S.H.I.E.L.D. And this is how he's able to create his own suit and have the ability to conjure up spells and have real magic, except it's going to be more scientific instead of real magic. Now, most likely J. Jonah Jameson is not going to be in Spider-Man Far From Home because he hasn't been on screen since the Sam Raimi trilogy, and I doubt they're going to be bringing that character in right now in Far From Home because there's so much going on in the movie already. But I think instead of having J. Jonah Jameson, they're gonna have Nick Fury play the role of J. Jonah Jameson because Nick Fury has always been on the side of superheroes and trying to get superheroes more out there and create superhero teams. Obviously, when Nick Fury sees the potential in Mysterio, he's gonna want to take Mysterio and try to make him rise to fame and have him become one of the Avengers, one of the main superheroes. And this is exactly why Nick Fury is pushing Mysterio to team up with Spider-Man. But not only that, I think Mysterio is gonna be the one to create the elementals. And exactly why would he create them? Well, he's gonna need some powerful supervillains to make him look really good when he's taking them down. And the elementals are gonna be so powerful altogether that Mysterio is gonna be the one to come in and save the day and prove that he is a real hero because he knows exactly how to take them down because he created them. But this evidence is all well and good, but to really prove that Mysterio is the villain in Spider-Man Far From Home, we have to dig a little bit deeper into the psychology of Quentin Beck. And we can do this by looking at the actions of the character within the trailer and also within the comic books. If he's creating these elementals to potentially harm not only Spider-Man but innocent civilians, and he's doing this all for his selfish need for fame, this is a common trait of a psychopath. And looking at the definition of a psychopath, according to uslegal.com, a person with a mental disorder characterized by an extremely antisocial personality that often leads to aggressive, perverted, or criminal or abnormal behavior without any empathy or remorse. Geez, that was a mouthful. But looking into the definition, there's a key phrase used in here, which is criminal behavior without any empathy or remorse. This perfectly describes Mysterio because he doesn't care about other people other than himself. He is a very selfish human being, and he's willing to put others in harm's way for his own gain, proving that Mysterio will 100% be a villain in Spider-Man Far From Home. But if you enjoyed this movie theory video, definitely be sure to check out the superhero theory playlist that I made up. But thank you all for watching and embrace your inner film nerd. Bye-bye.